hear you. Thank you, Sister Merrylin, for joining. And before I pass it on to you, I'll introduce, thank you for highlighting, spotlighting her. I'll introduce to our audience Sister Merrylin. So she is basically a student and teacher of Raj Yoga since 2007. And you wouldn't be knowing, she's a physiotherapist, a master's degree in physical therapy from Boston University in '96, and an additional certification in IMT, that's Integral Manual Therapy. And she now works in Cambridge, specializing in IMT. She also founded the Rehabilitation for All Foundation, which brings about providing rehab to the underserved countries in the Africas, particularly Ethiopia and the Congo. And apparently she lived in Ethiopia for several years, and she came into knowledge. She discovered Raj Yoga meditation while she was there. And currently, as we speak, she stays at the Boston PK Center, and she's very actively involved in all the services with the workshops, retreats in Boston, and also at Peace Village, which is the retreat center close by New York. And also, before I pass it on to our guest, we always have a poem for our guest related to today's value as well. So bear with me just next few minutes. So Sister Merrylin in her service is full of spiritual decency. That's because she's abundantly gifted with proficiency. In her dealings, there's always a lot of transparency. And indeed, there's no scope at all for any complacency. Her working style is filled with utmost efficiency. That's because in her behavior, there's no deficiency. Living in the confluence age as a regency, where there's absolutely no insufficiency, her talks are full of power and coherency, which radiate and vibrate with a spiritual frequency. And finally, she indeed in her effort has a lot of consistency and asks all of us also to be the same and avoid leniency. So, so with this, all the CCs. So thank you so much for joining, and all yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Manoj Bhai, for this lovely introduction and the opportunity to join your program and to spend time with you all today. I've heard so much about this values program you all are doing, and I've actually never joined. So I was so happily sitting today watching how in-depth you are going into the values and making it so practical and personal, and inviting each of us to understand more deeply where we sit with these and how much of this have I imbibed in my life, because we know that the soul is what holds the values, what holds these qualities within it, but not always are we able to express all of them equally, right? In our initial pure form, that sort of beginning stage that Sister Denise was talking about, right? That we learn about in Raj Yoga, we're full of all of them, and each of these beautiful values is expressed equally. But as we go through time and as we become entrenched in body consciousness and the things of the world and different more negative attributes, then we lose contact with some of these things. So it's interesting to go back and look at them and to see that this is what, the 86th value. I mean, how big the soul has to be in the power to hold all these within it. And now is our opportunity to really go into the depth of this beautiful quality and see how can I use it accurately in my life, and how can I use it to create change for myself. And so I wanted to just start by saying, if anyone has questions along the way, wants to make a comment, I'm very open. I like discussion. So please feel free to indicate in the chat, raise your hand. Maybe Dr. Manoj, you can indicate to me if somebody has a question if I don't notice. You're welcome to ask or share. But I wanted to start just with a little bit of my own story, because actually efficiency is not something I thought about particularly much, as far as the qualities and the virtues go. Some virtues we spend a lot of time with, love, or even discipline, or honesty and integrity, or flexibility, whatever it might be. We maybe spend time with them, we understand them more deeply, we try to practice those in our life. But efficiency was not something that I really ever did that with directly. However, when I start to think about this topic and start to reflect back on my own spiritual life, I realize how much my efficiency has changed over time in all aspects. My spiritual efficiency, with which I really want to focus on, how can I be most spiritually efficient in my life so that my spiritual practice is supporting my change and growth. But that spills over into all aspects, right? That spills over into how I am in my relationships. It spills over to my efficiency in work. And it especially spills over into how I feel within myself. So as Manoj mentioned, I am a physical therapist. I actually work, I do part-time now, 3 days a week at a clinic. And I also live in the center in Boston, which comes with its own busyness and responsibility. And so when I first started in my physical therapy journey, I was not particularly spiritual. I was, but I wasn't spiritual. I wasn't focused. I was young. I was 23. I hadn't found the spiritual practice I wanted to settle with yet. And so I had a lot of anxieties, a lot of fears, and other things as I moved through my life and as I moved through my profession. And those would translate into the way I interacted with people and the way I was at my work, and the amount of discomfort and discord I felt inside myself almost every day, because I wasn't understanding how it is that I could live in a way that was easy, that was light, that was carefree, and that could meet the challenges in my life without fear. And so I came into Brahma Kumaris and this spiritual practice with a lot of fear, and also having done a lot of searching for what it was that I knew would be able to support me. Because what I knew in the beginning was I wanted to be a spiritual person. I loved thinking about spiritual things, but I was shopping. I wasn't practicing. So I might do some meditation. I might go to a talk by this one, or I might, for example, when I was in Ethiopia and I started with Brahma Kumaris, I was part of this New Age thinking group that talked about different New Age topics and authors and books. I would go to the Baha'i Center and talk with the Baha'i about their faith. I also was still a little bit searching in my own background of Christianity and Catholicism. So there was so much searching going on, but I wasn't changing. I wasn't shifting. I was still anxious and fearful. And yeah, I did a lot of things within that. I went to Ethiopia. I lived in Ethiopia, but I was having panic attacks. I was in so much fear all the time. So I finally realized that I don't want to have to live like this. Something, I don't remember what, maybe waking up in the middle of the night one night with my heart pounding and thinking, this is, why am I in so much fear? There's nothing in my life right now to be causing this. And I realized that I really needed to focus myself. I don't know where that came from, but I just decided that's it. I'm going to find something and I'm going to start to practice. And it was at that time, actually, that I found the Brahma Kumaris in Ethiopia. I was living and working there, and actually someone that I came in contact with by chance was actually the one who helped the Brahma Kumaris become established in Ethiopia. So he took me to their house there, to where they teach. He introduced me to Sister Dipti. She was the first Brahmin I ever met. She comes from Nairobi, but she was in Ethiopia taking care of the place at that time. And I was going to take the lessons, but it wasn't quite the right time. I still wasn't quite ready. I still was convinced I could go somewhere else, but it turned me on to India. So I started doing other hatha yoga practices, and I started doing the art of living. I was still shopping, but somehow just sitting with this sister, seeing the image of the point of light, which is like above my head, was there in the room that I sat with this sister, just stuck with me. And I started understanding and started opening up to the idea that maybe this is a direction I want to go. And then through Hatha Yoga, I actually was teaching Hatha Yoga, and we used to get together with 3 or 4 different Hatha Yoga teachers in Ethiopia, and we would create retreats and programs. One of our fellow teachers had a big lower level in her house, and we would invite everybody, and we would have a day-long retreat. And one of the Hatha Yoga teachers was also a Raj Yogi. And the woman who was my friend and colleague who hosted, she also knew of the Brahma Kumaris, and she used to invite Sister Pratibha, who's the other instrument that was there, the other person there teaching, to come and do meditation with the group. And so I got to know Pratibha and a little more understanding around Raj Yoga through her. And, like drama and chance or coincidence, you could say, or serendipity kept dropping her and dropping the teachings of Raj Yoga in my path. So much so that I couldn't not pay attention. I would see her at the Indian Embassy. I'm coming out from doing Art of Living Kriya, and there's Sister Pratibha in her white sari talking to me about the next Raj Yoga class she's going to give, and am I going to come, and all these things. But I kept putting it off. I don't have time. And she said, you have to come to the course. Every time I'd see her, she'd say, you have to come and take the course with us. You'd love it. You can understand. And she would ask me, and I'd say, I can't. You do it every single day. There's this 7 days course we talk about, and literally they were doing it every day in the morning, 7 to 8 a.m. every day. And I said, but I teach my Hatha Yoga classes at that time. I can't come. So I kept putting off. Finally, I had gone home for a vacation. And while I was there, my friend Natalie, the one who we used to do Hatha Yoga together, she emailed me and said, Brahma Kumaris are doing a talk. This was their January 18th talk in the Hilton. And it's the day you come back. I'm going to pick you up at the airport and we're going to go. I'm going to sign you up. So she signed me up and I went, and it was Sister Pratibha giving the talk. And I loved it. I always love everything she would share. So at this point, she's my friend. And I went to see her, and she said, Merrylin, when are you coming to take the course? And I thought, I can't. You do it every single day. Da, 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 da. And she said, no, now we've changed it. We're doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday for 2 weeks. And I was teaching Hatha Yoga Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. So I was free. It was like drama and serendipity opened up, and I just knew I had to go. It was the time for me to go and be there with them. It's like it worked together to make it happen. So I went and I took the course, and from there everything sort of moved very quickly. I felt immediately different. I felt that I was able to deal with my own anxieties a little bit better. I felt a connection with the people at the center, that we had this common understanding, and a lot of the teachings were things that I had come to on my own. It just felt like the right place. It felt like home. So in my mind, okay, time to stop shopping and start practicing. This is what I want to practice. And that is the first step in me becoming more efficient in my spiritual journey. When I started applying one direction. And this may not be true for everybody, but this was true for me. I was too scattered in how it was that I was applying things. I was trying to put a patch on the anxiety, fix it in this situation, fix it in that situation, instead of allowing myself to get to the root, the spiritual, very deep root that I've been still digging into for the last 17 years about why those anxieties and fears are there. And how can I let them go at that root level so that I have a level of confidence and peace and calm within myself that allows me to deal with my life very differently. So I feel like that's where the journey with efficiency started, when I started taking one practice, one set of practices, and applying each of them. And that's not to say that I could follow all the Brahma Kumaris things immediately. Some I resisted, some it took me a long time to understand. It's such a deep knowledge. But each point, as I took it and as I worked with it, had something new to teach me about myself and my own journey. And when applied, allowed me to pull myself out of this stuck feeling of panic and anxiety and fear that I was living with. And so I'm very grateful to the practice, but I also feel that this efficiency piece is key. And as you go further in your spiritual practice, because spiritual practice is all about transformation, right? When we step on a spiritual journey, at least for me, I wanted to change. I wanted my life to be different. And most importantly, I wanted the way I felt inside myself to be different. But as we move forward in our spiritual journey, at least for me, the gross things, the fears of social anxiety. I mean, when I first started, I couldn't even talk to two people like this. They used to ask me to do a talk at the center, and I'd have my notes and I'd be afraid that there'd be like 3 people sitting in front of me. It took me a long time to go beyond a lot of these anxieties, but, practice and applying this has slowly helped me to go beyond a lot of the anxieties I was feeling. Is it perfect? No, because life keeps challenging us and bringing new situations, but I know how to handle it now because my efficiency is better. And so as we grow in our spiritual path and we change, the amount of efficiency we need to have grows and changes, I feel. In the beginning, you apply a little bit of spiritual knowledge, concentrated spiritual knowledge, and so much change happens very fast. But as you grow and change and become a more experienced practitioner of Raj Yoga, for example, since that's what I know, that's what we'll talk about, and that's what you're here for, right? As I apply more deeply and understand more deeply the principles and teachings of Raj Yoga and my ability to connect to myself as the soul and to connect to the source, higher power, for that power that I need to change, as that deepens, I have to keep that more consistently deep in order to see the change. It's almost like the things that cause me anxiety are more deeply rooted than they used to be. And so the superficial ones, they can be let go of with a little bit of practice. But the ones that are deep within the soul, the ones that have been with me for many births, life after life, those rear their heads a lot. And the more efficiently I can apply my spiritual practice to changing and shifting these types of challenges within myself and within my life, the more I'm going to be able to stay happy and the more I'm going to be able to stay moving forward. But I feel like over time, as we grow, our level of efficiency needs to change. We can't do the old little bit here, a little bit there practice anymore. We have to go deeper. So they can think of this as an invitation for each of you, no matter where you are in your spiritual practice, to know that if I increase the efficiency with which I practice my spirituality and apply it in the right way, I can see change. And to invite you to say, let me just see if I can step it up a notch. Let me see if I can go just a little more deeply into myself. Let me see if I can just shift these old habit patterns, these old negative thought patterns, these old behaviors that don't serve me and don't serve those around me anymore. Let me see if I can systematically apply what I know, learn the new things I need to learn, master the new spiritual skills I need to master in order to be able to shift and change these things. Because this is the call of the time right now. And it's our possibility to use this efficiency to really make great transformation. So that's a bit about my story and how I came to be where I am. And I think we're all sitting in the same time in history. And I know Sister Denise had talked about this. For those of you who saw her talk, I watched it. So that was very lovely to see that. And she talked a lot about this drama cycle and how we are at this confluence, this sort of meeting of cycles. An old cycle is ending, and a new cycle is starting, and the old is negative and dark and heavy, and the new is light and pure and peaceful. And we are in the process of going from that negative, dark place, being wrapped up in that, into a new awareness, a new world. And so that process of transformation requires some efforts on my part. And the more efficient those efforts are, the lighter and happier I'm going to be able to stay. And I'm going to be able to keep in what we call the ascending stage. I was just playing with that because this had come up in our morning class that Manoj was mentioning last couple of days, that when we are light and we're staying soul conscious and we're connected to the source, we are in what we call that ascending stage, where we're shedding all the darkness, letting go of the negativity, becoming our original pure selves again, ascending back. Whereas when we're not, when we're stuck in body consciousness, where we're negativity or pain or suffering, we're descending, right? So when I'm in that ascending stage, I feel light, I feel happy. When I feel in that descending stage, some of those old feelings of anxiety or fear will come back. So what's my definition of spiritual efficiency when I think about it in this? I want to make sure that the energy of my spiritual practice, the efforts I put in my daily routine of spiritual practice, make sure it maximally supports my spiritual growth and keeps me in that feeling of being in the ascending stage, that I'm transforming, that I'm going somewhere new, that I'm going somewhere light, that I'm going somewhere pure. And the more that I stay in that flow, the more easily transformation will come and the faster transformation will come and the happier I will be. And the more that I let myself slip back into old ways, step out of that spiritual practice, let some negativity or laziness or carelessness or whatever it is that I deal with daily to come in, it's going to put me back on that feeling of being descending. Like I'm going backwards. Like, why am I stuck in this same situation again? Why am I stuck with the same feeling inside again? It's because I stepped out of the efficiency of my spiritual practice. I'm not applying myself in the way I need to in order to overcome whatever that obstacle might be in the moment. So I am being spiritually efficient when the way that I'm practicing my spiritual disciplines and understanding the spiritual knowledge and applying that is bringing transformation in my life. Am I organized and thoughtful in the way that I'm applying the spiritual knowledge I have? Am I eager to learn new things, to understand some spiritual principles more deeply so that I can take myself to that next level of stability, of equanimity that we all will get when we are being spiritually efficient, right? The less ups and downs. So I should see change, and it should be palpable in me, in the way that I interact, in the way my thoughts are, the words I speak, the relationships and connections I have. All of these things I should feel change. And we all know that feeling when you're trying to shift something and you really want to change, I don't know, a thought pattern in yourself or a behavior pattern or perhaps something within a relationship, and you just can't go beyond it. You feel stuck, right? Well, that's a signal. It's time for me to step back and take a look. Am I applying the spiritual principles that I have and that I live by appropriately and consistently to that particular thing that I'd like to change? Right? It should be supportive. So there's two things, is that spiritual discipline I do in my life. So in Raja Yoga, we talk about knowledge and we talk about yoga, but we have another sort of, we actually call it a subject. It's like a college, we call it a subject of dharana, of application. So am I applying that third subject? I may be sitting in meditation 6 hours a day and going to my spiritual class in the morning. But if I'm not then taking all that power I think I've accumulated and all that understanding I've gained and applying it to daily life, to being in the world, to relationships, to serving, to whatever it is I need to do, then I'm not going to grow and I'm not fully maximally efficient. You know, Jayanti Didi, who's one of the administrative heads of the organization worldwide, she once said, nobody ever became pure and completely pure by sitting in a cave and meditating all day. We can have all the understanding and we can have all the yoga, but if we don't learn to apply it, we won't change. We won't become strong. We won't become with a stable affect, right? We'll be shaken by things because we haven't applied it into our daily life. So this is the other aspect of being spiritually disciplined. It's, yes, I have to practice every day and be consistent in my meditation and attending my classes and doing these things. But also, am I really taking it into the world and putting it to the test? Is what is said in them really true for me? You know, what situation is it applicable? These are the things I need to do to create efficiency in my life. The other thing is that if I'm being spiritually efficient, then I won't have that feeling of stuck and tiredness. So we're going back to this, what's the definition and how do I know if I'm being spiritually efficient? I'll know because that stability is there. I'll know because I can go through my day and I won't feel the, oh, I'm so happy someone praised me. Oh, I'm so sad someone defamed me. Oh, I'm so happy someone praised me. Oh, I'm so angry someone did this. These up, down things that we get, it won't be there. I will feel stable no matter what's going on around me. And with that comes a happiness that you can't get from relying on things of the world, right? It's the happiness of being free, And that spiritual efficiency and practice and applying it moment by moment in my life makes me free from the things that cause suffering in the soul, free from the things that cause suffering in the heart, right? So my happiness and my contentment increase. You know, when I was going back to the story when I was younger and I was working as a physical therapist, and by this time now I had come back from Ethiopia and I was starting to work again in the US. And I was working in a clinic. It actually ends up being the same clinic I still work in now. I've been in and out a few times, but I remember when I came, I just started practicing Raj Yoga, and I was feeling a lot of change in myself, and I was feeling good. But then I started having physical problems. I was having horrible headaches. I was having neck pain. I have all these other problems. These problems ended up leading me to study this integrative manual therapy, because it's what helped me to clear all of that. But as I was starting to go through that, all of a sudden I'm becoming very irritable. I'm, complaining all the time. I can't have proper conversation with my patients. I keep, because I was in a lot of pain. I was so distracted by that pain. And my supervisor at that time came to me and said, Merrylin, what's wrong with you? We rely on you in this clinic to be the peaceful one, the one that keeps the calm, right? This is how they were seeing me at that time, keep the calm. But because I was suffering internally with something else, I wasn't able to go beyond that and stay in that space. And that's when I realized the power of this equanimity that comes when we are efficient in our practice, right? So I started, okay, let me apply the principles to how I feel when I'm not feeling good. I still struggle with this. It's very challenging to stay peaceful when you have a lot of pain in the body and things are, not feeling good internally, physically. But we can learn to go beyond it. We can learn to do what we need to do and hold on to our sense of peace and that equilibrium, even when things are going challenged inside. So that's how we know sort of our efficiency is improving, because what we've applied is working and we're able to sustain. So if we fast forward a few years, I'm sitting in for a review with one of my colleagues, and their first comment was, you are the most peaceful person I've ever met. All I want to do is sit next to you so I can feel the peace. This was the comment, not you're a great physical therapist or you've helped this many people or you have this expertise. It was your manner is so peaceful. Your way of communicating is amazing. This was, and so that equilibrium shows, that change in how people saw me and my ability to stay stable in that has changed over time. So the progress is there. But now, efficiently, I have to apply deeper and deeper practices in order to work on the next thing that's coming as an obstacle. The anxiety and the fear is not there anymore as an obstacle. The ups and downs of getting overwhelmed by paperwork and patients and all of that is not an obstacle anymore. Now it's my own energy that's the obstacle, feeling like I lose energy. I'm not efficient in maintaining my own stage subtly. People would never know, but I know internally and I know by how I feel at the end of the day. So the practice has to change to keep that efficiency, that I keep changing and transforming and don't feel stuck in the way that I'm doing at my work. Is this all making sense? I feel like I'm just talking, but I have no idea if this is all making sense to you. I hope so. So how I know I'm spiritually efficient, that happiness, I'm not stuck in anything, and I'm seeing transformation and change. So what are the things that I can do in my life that are going to support spiritual efficiency and therefore transformation? Because we want to look at this from an active perspective. What can I change in my life? Some nice questions for you all as participants to ask yourself: how spiritually efficient am I in my life? Meaning, do I have a spiritual practice that I do regularly? Am I applying that to my day-to-day life, either in relationships at home or work or family, whatever is the most prominent for you or the one that's causing a challenge for you? Am I applying these things? How efficient am I in that? But some things that really support and help me stay efficient that we can look at. One is really keeping myself full of spiritual understanding and full of spiritual power. And we've already talked about that disciplined daily meditation. I just loved what Denise Ben was sharing about our early morning meditation practice, Amrit Villa, and how starting the day in that awareness of who I am as the soul and in that connection to higher power fills you with if you're doing it really well, more power than you need in order to manage all the things that will come at you during the day, all the different challenges that you'll face. If I've done that, I've filled myself with that spiritual knowledge, spiritual power through that Amrit Vela early morning, my yoga meditation session. And then I've gone to my spiritual class and I've heard spiritual teachings for that day. And I've taken, what it is I need to practice on that day. And I take those things with me into the world. I'm full. I feel empowered. I feel ready. And I can use that to help myself meet each challenge that comes. So I've kept myself full, and I need to do this every day. It's not something that I can do sometimes. I need to do every single day. So that's one thing that is really a key, keeping yourself full of that understanding and power. And also, we were talking about how this connection with the source, the supreme, and this external source of energy that shifts the entropy. So, when I'm in a state of disarray, or I'm in fear, or I'm overwhelmed, or something's going on, I'm depleted, and I need energy in order to shift that. And when I'm in that state, I can't always give myself that energy, but I can connect to higher power. I can connect to source, and I can use that energy to help shift me out of that fear-based. So this understanding that not only do we have ourselves as spiritual beings who originally were pure and full of all these virtues and all this power, but also we have this beautiful connection to the higher power that only comes at this time in the cycle that we can use to help keep us full and help pull us out when we can't manage that for ourselves. It's a really, really important connection to make. And with that, I've filled myself with that spiritual power. And now, am I taking that with me and learning to maintain the spiritual awareness during the day? Someone said it in the session, in the Q&A and all the sharing before about paying attention. I have to learn to pay attention. What am I paying attention to? Right? Not just mindfulness, not just being present in the moment and being with, and that is important. We need to be mindful and present. But I'm also paying attention in each moment to myself as a soul. That I'm a being playing a role, that I'm a yogi first, I'm a meditator first, I'm a spiritual being first, and then I'm the physical therapist, then I'm the doctor, whatever my role might be, any role, doesn't matter, mother, friend, child, anything. Before that, who am I? I am that being of peace. I am an eternal soul. I am a child of the Supreme. When I hold this awareness with me and keep this awareness throughout the day, it shifts the way I see everything. And it helps me remember who I am. And it helps me come from that place so that I'm coming into this drama, into whatever scene's unfolding me with this higher awareness. And so then I've got space. I'm a little detached. I can relax. I can respond to things rather than reacting to things, because I'm not really fully 100% in my role. I'm aware that I am the soul playing the role. So holding that awareness, and beyond that, knowing I'm not alone in that play, I'm not alone in that scene. The connection to the source is always there with me too. So when I'm aware of that and hold that, it's going to shift and change everything for me in how it is that I approach my day. So learning to maintain that spiritual awareness and all the things that we mentioned, and as someone mentioned, traffic control and all these things, we have to do these things throughout the day because we get pulled. The scenes of drama in a work day or in a day at home with the kids or whatever yours might be, they're very engrossing and they will pull you right out of your spiritual awareness and right into role consciousness. And with that role consciousness comes the anxiety, comes the fear, comes the suffering. Right. So the more that I can do things like taking that traffic control. Now I work in a busy clinic. I can't take traffic control at work. I can't have music playing. I'm not sitting at my desk. I am at a computer, but it's in the middle of a gym with a lot of people. So I can't really do that. So instead, my traffic control is every time I sit to put my hands on somebody, because I do a lot of manual therapy. That's my specialty. I remember who I am and I remember who the one I'm working with is. I am a soul playing the role of the therapist. This soul has come to me for help with the karma of the body, help with the suffering of the body, whatever it might be. And my role is to provide whatever help I can for them. And I just hold that awareness. and remember that as I start my manual therapy treatment for them. And that just keeps me connected throughout the day. And I have other little things that I do to remind me and keep me connected. And these are the things I've really been working on, because somewhere along the line, I let them go a little bit, and I was feeling very influenced by the energy at work. It's very frenetic. There's a lot of people in suffering. There's people everywhere. So you have to really be mindful. And anyone who works in a clinic or in a busy open setting like that knows to not get influenced by that. So these little practices of staying aware and anything I can do to help myself stay aware are going to be important part of this efficiency, meaning it's going to allow my spiritual practice to actually support me and to help me change as quickly as possible and as easily as possible, right? So the third thing I was thinking about was checking and changing. You know, this is something we talk about in Raj Yoga a lot. Did you check and change? And someone mentioned the chart earlier. So every evening we sit and we write down our chart and we give it to God and we say, this is the things I did. This is the mistakes I made. Here's what I'm working on. This is what went well. This is what didn't. However, I personally like to write letters. I'm not a big check mark person, but I do like to write letters. This is, imagining that the Supreme is my friend or my father or my counselor, whatever, and, write that letter to get everything off the chest. But this checking and changing, it increases the efficiency because it can keep me on track. Right. And if I'm just, yes, I want to be more calm and more stable in my energy at work. That's the goal. But I'm never checking whether it's actually happening. And I'm never looking at why it's not happening. Then nothing will ever change, no matter how much meditation I do at home. If I'm not taking it and it's not, and I'm forgetting about it when I go there, it's not supporting me in my change in that environment. Right. So checking and changing every night. Here's what I wanted to do today. I have a little method that I use where I have some things that I'm practicing, awarenesses I'm practicing all the time when I meet each patient. And then the thing I added after coming back from India this past year was making sure I'm eating lunch, no matter what, in remembrance and in silence. Because the day is long and there's a lot of patients before and after. And so if I'm not recharging again at lunchtime, by the time I get to the end of the day, I'm really running on spiritual empty because I haven't taken enough care and physically I'm tired. And that combination of things means that all the old sanskars, all the old behavior patterns that I'm looking to shift and change can come back. I'm vulnerable to them because I haven't protected myself. So I added that at lunchtime. And sometimes it's a challenge to find a place to eat that's alone and silent. And, the temptation is there to interact with colleagues. And sometimes you have to. I need to talk to my colleagues about patients, or they have something they want to ask me or share or whatever. And those things are necessary. And of course I do that. But 20 minutes of my hour I have for me to sit, to have my lunch in silence, to remember who I am and to connect to the source and recharge the batteries. And that has made a really big difference. It's made it much easier for me to make it through my day. It means I'm left at the end of the day sometimes with a little more paperwork because I used to work through lunch also. So it's not allowing me to do as much. But I do find that when I'm more spiritually connected and I'm efficiently using the practice during the day, that all the things that need to get done physically on my list, somehow it's taken care of. It's a bit like magic. And I don't have to think about it so much. I don't have to worry about it. Oh, it's this many, the pile of 17 notes from the day before is so piled on my head, and then I'm forgetting, and then I'm supposed to go back to the center because I have to give a talk, and I'm so tired and I have this all over my head and all that. All those things, when I am accurately applying my spiritual knowledge, they're not there. I may leave with a number of notes undone and this phone call not returned and this number of emails not done. But when I leave, they're gone and I'm not worried. Because I know that if I stay soul conscious and I stay connected to the source, that my life would not give me anything that I couldn't handle, and it would never not get done. There will be a time. I will find time. Drama of life will open up. A cancellation will happen or something will happen and I will have more space and it will be finished. That kind of faith builds with our spiritual efficiency. The more efficient I am at practicing and keeping myself consistent in what I'm doing, the more I see the fruits of that, and then it becomes easier and easier to apply. So this check and change, is actually really, really key and a great way to work on something that you really feel you're stuck on. So that's another piece of efficiency. Am I applying this? And so can you each think, as a result of this talk on efficiency, is there something in my life that I want to change, that I want to be better at? I want to not lose my energy around, or I not want to respond in anger in this situation, or I don't want to get impatient with this person, or I want to be stronger in this situation, whatever it might be for you. Can you take some way of applying what you learn and put it to that situation and keep a chart, keep a checklist? How am I doing every night? Meditate, give that to your higher self, check in with Supreme Soul, whatever you believe in that's higher than you, check in with that to your guide in life, and see how when you apply focused attention in an efficient way, things change, right? And the beauty of this life is that it's a path and it's a journey. And we are these, we hear this saying all the time, we are spiritual beings on a human journey, right, in this world. And if we go back to this idea of the play, we are all in this journey of life. We are all in this play, but each one of our roles is special and unique. Each one of our roles is special and unique. So how can I play my role to the best without looking at anybody else's role, without wishing for something different? But each step of the way, knowing that if we go back to the karma idea, karma has brought me where I am. Karma, meaning my actions, my thoughts, my path that I've followed up until now through lifetimes, has brought me all the wonderful, beautiful things in my life. And yes, it's also brought me all the challenges in my life. But those challenges are specifically designed by me and my karma to help me move forward on this path, to help take me through this time of transformation and change. Right? It's such a beautiful thought that the path I walk is mine alone. It's the perfect path for me to go back to that space of pure love, pure peace, that fullness of every virtue being fully expressed. And the more spiritual efficiency I apply, meaning the more I take what I learn and I put it to use, and I don't let myself go into the things that drain the energy, right? The draining energy, some things might be resisting. This is a big one for me. Some new thing comes along for me to try and I'm scared of it. So I'll resist and I'll run and I'll start doing all the old wasting time behaviors I used to do in an effort to slow down so I don't have to deal with that. I don't have to go there yet. It's just resistance and fear. It's that same feeling. And I just have to keep moving forward, keep applying the things that I know that have allowed me to conquer all the other things and apply it to this new obstacle, this new challenge that's in the way. But it blocks efficiency going into those old behaviors. And I don't apply my practice and I waste time and I hide and then I'm stuck. So the only way out is through. What's in the way is the way. It's the only way out is through. So I just have to keep moving forward and notice when I get stuck and shift and change things. The other thing is that I find myself too not doing sometimes is sharing the struggle with people. We are on the spiritual journey together. Even though I walk my own path and each one is walking their own path, we're part of a family of people who are on this spiritual journey together. Some are further along the journey than I am, and some are further back than I am. Even though their journey is, separate from mine, we have different areas. And I can talk. I can ask for assistance. I can ask for help. Sometimes just sharing the struggle is enough to get you out of that resistance with somebody that you trust, with someone who you feel is walking the path, very efficiently and very honestly and very openly, a senior teacher perhaps, anyone that you know that you can share. For me, that's always a struggle. I'm not a big sharer. I just tend to keep things inside until I figure it out or explode one or the other. And it's not a spiritual practice, right? So really, I've had to learn, let me talk. Let me share the struggle. Let me ask for help and different insight when I need it. Good company takes us across and bad company drowns. And drowns us. I can be in the best company. My life is full of wonderful spiritual friends. I have so much assistance and support around me. But if I don't open up to that, then I'm also not going to be helped by that, right? There's a reason why we have that. So really making sure you're sharing, and in a positive, uplifting way. I really want to change this. I'm a little stuck. This is what I feel. And again, sometimes it's just sharing it with the right senior, the right teacher that really helps you move forward. And the last thing I wanted to just say about these blocks, I liked what someone was sharing about how if you don't have goals and you don't know where you're going, you're running around all over the place and you get totally distracted. Well, it's the same thing spiritually. If I'm running around and I don't have a goal, I'm not aiming for something and I'm not keeping that aim in my mind, then how will I ever get to the destination? Because I don't know what the destination is. And any journey has stops along the way, and any journey has different things we have to go through. Any journey sometimes feels easy and sometimes feels hard. And the same is with the spiritual journey, but ultimately, where do I want to go? Why am I practicing this spiritual life? And for me, it started out as something I just wanted to feel good inside myself. Now it's become, I want to support the world as it changes. I want to help others to walk along a path that leads them to happiness and peace inside as well. So the goals have changed, but I still have to apply these fundamental things in my spiritual practice to stay efficient and to change within that, right? So knowing the goals, if not having spiritual goals, I guess when we're talking about blocks, if I'm just blindly applying things and I'm not having goals for myself, then also I won't make the progress I could make if I apply to the goals themselves, right? So lastly, I know we're going to go into some meditation. I don't know if anybody has questions or anything, but I just want to share one or two things that help me staying efficient. So Raj Yoga tools. And then when we go into meditation, we'll practice those things together. So the first thing is this soul consciousness, right? Being soul conscious. And I talked about this a little bit with the idea of staying aware. But how deeply have I experienced myself to be a soul, to be beyond the body, to be beyond the roles I play, to be beyond the confines of the relationships I have, or the body I'm in, or the cultural background that I was born into, or the norms that society puts on me? How much have I really experienced stepping beyond that? Because those are the things that are going to keep me stuck. Those are the things that are going to pull me back into old behaviors, because they're surrounded by things like ego and attachment and anger and to protect myself and all these other tools that we used to use before we started practicing spirituality. And if I'm not staying in that soul conscious awareness all the time, then I will start to revert back to those things. And the first sign might be tiredness. And this is, again, why I'm using this as my own practice at work now. In the Merrylin, our morning teaching yesterday, it was said, if you're in soul consciousness and aware, everything is great. But the minute you step into body consciousness, what happens? Tiredness. So body consciousness means identifying with all those things that are associated with the roles I play in the world, the physical body, the gender, the economic status, the religious background, any of those labels that either I have put on myself by choosing the job I chose, or that society has put on me, or that life has put on me. When I identify with that, I am being body conscious, and then I have to defend that, and it will drain me. It will not build spiritual energy, and tiredness will be there. So one key thing to practice to maintain that spiritual awareness is deepening my experience of being a soul. And doing that, sitting, of course, we have to have our seated practice early in the morning, connecting. And of course, from that point of being the soul, understanding who I'm taking power from. That as the soul, I don't have to transform myself. I have to take everything I'm learning and practice. But the real transformation happens when I consider myself to be a soul and I connect to the Supreme Soul, to the source. The one being that is outside all of this drama, the one being that's not in a role in the world, draining the energy from being in a physical place, right? The one soul that remains pure, full, and peaceful, that supreme being. I don't have to transform myself. I have to remember that one. I have to connect to that one. I have to fill myself with the power from that one. And then I'm able to conquer because I have the power I need. And transformation becomes easy. It's no longer a battle. Right? So if every morning I can just practice this and take that feeling of I am an empowered soul with me into the world, then I can watch how, if I stay in that consciousness that I'm not responding to people in the same way. That is our only task, is in each situation to be soul conscious and stay connected to the Supreme. And the more I practice that, and the more I bring that with me, the more efficiently that spiritual power can make change and transform me. And I know that I will transform and become so calm and stable and tranquil and a real symbol for peace for the people around me and a real support for the people around me and for the world. As things break down and get harder in the world, I can maintain my lightness and be that real support so that I'm inside myself feeling light and offering that light to the world. Sure. So thank you all so much. And I hope that was what you're looking for. And anyway, I enjoyed sharing and I'm happy to do some meditation if you want, or I don't know what's next.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, so we have one question which came up half an hour ago. It was on this last thing what you mentioned. It's on the power of transformation. So I'll just read out the question that Sister Sanim is saying that we mix up transformation with suppression. How to make sure to efficiently just acknowledging specific patterns and not getting drawn into the storms and shocks of life at that very moment. I think you covered this actually, that check and change, and it happens. We have to keep ourselves on the alert all the time and to keep doing it. So he's saying to not mix up transformation with suppression. She feels we are seeing it. So how to differentiate between these?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because the feeling can be that in order for me to maintain my stage, I have to remove myself from that situation. But if that's true, if I feel that in order for me to stay peaceful, I have to remove myself from the situation, or I have to separate myself, then it's not real spiritual power I'm using. And I'm not sure I'm really getting the question. So if it's not answering you, let me know. But what I feel is that real spiritual power comes when I can be in the situation, but not affected by it. So, we're talking our spiritual classes about seeing but not seeing and hearing but not hearing. I need to be in the situation, meaning I'm playing my role in the drama. I can't step out of the room because my patient's in pain and I'm, feeling bad for them and I have to run away so I can cry or something. No, I can't do that. I have to be with them. It's just giving a silly example, but I have to be in that situation. But if I can stay in my connection to myself and my connection to the source while in that situation strongly enough, it creates like a protection around me. It's like a canopy, because my energy is so pure and peaceful that whenever something negative comes in towards me, something challenging comes in towards me, it's transformed and I don't experience it to be that way. And there's stages, in the beginning when I first started practicing, I might find that my reactions take longer, or I don't go as deeply into the sorrow or the anger or whatever it was. But as I keep practicing and as I keep staying in that connection and applying this idea of being soul conscious and aware of connection to the unlimited source of peace, I will find that I can consciously stay peaceful, even in the midst of lack of peace. But it's absolutely a moment-to-moment moment-to-moment practice, and especially as we come into harder situations. I just remember, I always have a hard time if someone passes away and I have to go to a funeral and there's a lot of sorrow. I would instantly crying with them, feeling so much empathy. I think it's common among healthcare professionals. So it's so much empathy for people that we can't help but feel their pain. But the last time I went, I was able to stay in my connection. I'm here to serve. I'm a peaceful soul. I have the power of peace with me. I have the supreme source of peace with me. And my job is to spread those vibrations of peace to each and every soul in suffering. And when I held on to that, no sorrow touched me at all. In fact, I felt so calm and I felt so like I was serving, like I was an instrument for the source at that time. It was a very beautiful feeling, and I've never had that before, but it's the spiritual practice of being present in the sorrow, part of that, but not taking it, but creating my own aura of energy around me, my own inner state that's so strong that it can't be influenced and ends up transforming the state of others. So it's a very powerful practice. Yeah.
It's wonderful. So our time is coming close, and I'll just request Sister. Thank you so much, first of all, Sister Merrylin, for all your thoughts and sharings. And I'll
Thank you.
request Anu to please propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Brother Manoj. Thank you, Sister Merrylin. Actually, Sister Claudia, our center coordinator from Vancouver Center, usually is here with us. But today she couldn't join. Also, Dr. Ashok Mehta is our, constant companion in this journey, and he would love to give a vote of thanks to you, as we always benefit so highly from all these sharings from yogis who are deeply practicing the spiritual aspects, and in terms of values, they're so practical, though so helpful. I really loved your emphasis on being in that awareness of our truth as souls, and really paying attention on the self. How am I feeling? I also loved it, as you said, that check if you're stuck, you're not happy, if I'm changing, if I'm transforming. If not, then I'm not in that spiritual journey, and I want to be efficient. My energy will be drained. So it's really beautiful. And as a soul, I don't have to change anything because I'm whole, as I understand. But I've forgotten, or my memory goes away from that. So being connected with the source, really beautiful. I'm sure everybody of us has taken the benefit and will listen more again. And really, thank you so much for this beautiful share.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you, both of you. Let me, before we go into the meditation, we'll just quickly do the announcements. Just make sure that if there are some new, I forgot to do this announcement, sorry, that if there are any new souls who have joined and who want to be a part of these remaining workshops, we'll be carrying on till 100 episodes and 100 workshops till this Diwali this year in November. So please share your email addresses and WhatsApp numbers in the chat box to either everyone or to Sister Anu. She's mentioned in the chat as well. Okay, and another brief announcement is that make sure that our times, because to accommodate the daylight saving time for the West, the East Coast and West Coast of US and Canada. So in India, we are starting at 7:30 p.m. now because we don't observe the daylight saving. So remember, it's 7:30 the workshop timing, as well as the episodes as well, 7:30 India time. And that translates to 7 a.m. for the West Coast and 10 a.m. the East Coast time. Okay, then we have the next episode coming Saturday on inspiration. Yes, these two brothers, like, they really are an inspiring, they inspire us a lot from their spiritual journeys, which they have with the Brahma Kumari. It's a big, long journey. Both Brother Eric Lereste from Canada and Brother Eric Larson from USA. So again, we enjoy their conversations. Both share the same name, and we'll be listening to them on inspiration coming Saturday.
And they share a good sense of humor together too. So they're good. Yeah.
Thank you for saying that. And also, as always, you know that we end the month with a silence retreat. So we'll be having the silence retreat on inspiration. And just to let you all know that this is a program more for the PK regular students, because they're all based on what we call the Avyak Murli teachings. And we have a lot of it's a 2-hour retreat, which we have once a month. Fortunately, this month we had twice, because the last month we weren't able to do adjustment. So this time we had on adjustment on the first weekend of Sunday, and the last weekend, the Sunday, 31st March, it's the Easter Sunday. So a lot of inspiration we get from the spiritual teachings here at Brahma Kumaris. So we'll be going into silence and listen to them as well. And also then, as always, we have the workshop. So we are fortunate enough that it's all the US and Canada this time for the past few months and the coming months as well. So we have both the sisters, again, very senior Sister Geeta. We were actually supposed to get her last year as well, and even the year before that as well. But for some reason, drama, we didn't get her. But this time we are fortunate. So Sister Geeta will be in she's the I must not say center coordinator, but she looks after the entire west coast of US and Canada services, the Brahma Kumaris there. And she's in LA, and Sister Anjani from the East Coast. So both from both the East and West Coast. We have listened to Sister Anjani as well before. So it will be a conversation as we do the workshop today, after the experiential exercises. And that will be the first Saturday of April, 6th April. And this is an elegant calendar. Thank you, Mr. Posha, for designing. So we'll be sending you all these review materials as well. And these are our websites, the Values for Life series, and Vancouver. These are our emails first, and the websites are mentioned. And all these are recorded. Feel free to visit them on omshanti.live workshops. And the playlist for the episodes is playlist/English. I'll just stop sharing. And before we move on to the meditation, it's good that all of you want to have a photograph the online. So Sister Anu can quickly do that. If you all want to open your video cameras so that we go in silence after the meditation is over.
So we have a virtual picture with you, Sister Merrylin.
Oh, okay. Right.
We all loved it. So everyone, please open your video and we'll make this moment memorable.
Lovely.
Sister Merrylin. Yeah. Anyone still planning to open, please open your video. Got it. Thank you.
So without much ado, we'll just go into the meditation. And over to you, Sister.
Yeah. How long should I go? Just 5 minutes, or we are late? So yeah.
This is okay.
5 minutes. Okay. All right. So actually, if you can keep your video open for meditation, it's lovely to see the faces and to see the soul in each one of you. You can share that soul conscious vision with each other. So as I sit in meditation, I become aware that I, the soul, am beyond this body. The body has roles and responsibilities, and I, the soul, play that through this costume. My roles are unique. The costume I wear is unique. But it's the soul that holds the beauty of who I am. In this moment in time, I am on a spiritual journey, learning to be who I really am. Learning to walk my path with spiritual efficiency, with determination and consistency to become all that I can be. I, the soul, the being of life, maintain my peace and my calm at every step. Keep my attention and my awareness on who I really am. Light, love, peace. This awareness allows me to be content in each moment, to feel stable and strong, like I'm the one who influences the world around me with my purity, my peace. uninfluenced by the challenges around me. I am able to be free. Light, connected to myself, connected to Source. And as I step into the rest of my day, I keep this powerful connection, self and Source, with me. Applying that soul conscious vision to everything I do. I am a peaceful soul. Light. Free. Shanti.
So thank you so much once again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sister Merrylin, and everyone, all participants, translators, recorders. See you soon again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. It was lovely to be with you. Om Shanti.